Hey beauties, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Essence Janay, and in today's video we are doing a one brand tutorial. Now I do not bring you guys too many of these, but I figured this was the perfect video to give you guys because I mean, who doesn't love affordable products? And e.l.f. is definitely one of those staple brands that really come with the quality and have that affordable price point. I have showcased multiple products in today's video, many of which you guys know of and have seen before, and just kind of give you guys my opinion on them as well as walk you through this look. If that's something you're interested in, of course, make sure you grab your makeup brushes, matcha tea, water, whatever is your preference, and let's get into it. Alright beauties, let's go ahead and get started with this makeup look. So of course I'm going to start with my base makeup. I'm going to prep my skin, but I do want to mention that my brows are already done. Now e.l.f. does have brow pencils that they do sell. I do have one here called the Ultra Precise Brow Pencil, but mine is in the shade Brunette, and that's a little too light for my brows. So sometimes I like to use this just like in the front part of it, but for the most part this is not like my go-to pencil to use for my brows overall. But the pencil itself, like the precision, the thinness of it, and just the creaminess of the product itself is really great. So definitely check that out if you're in the market for a new brow pencil. But let's go ahead and jump into primer. So for primer, I'm going to start with their Jelly Pop primer. This is the Jelly Pop Dew Primer. And again, it is very much like the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer, but it's a little bit more smooth. It is, in my opinion, a little bit more tackier as well, and I do love this a lot. This is a primer I do pull for pretty often, especially when I'm kind of in a rut and I don't know what primer I want to use. This is kind of like a go-to no-brainer for me because it really helps adhere the makeup to the skin, and it doesn't allow it to just like sit on top of your skin. It really helps, you know, keep it in place. So this is definitely a primer I feel like I always have to use, and I put this everywhere. Okay, so I take it back. It's not as tacky as the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip, but it still helps grip the makeup really nicely, and it feels kind of hydrating in a way on the skin. It's very luxurious for such an affordable product. But of course, you guys know me by now. I do love to double prime, so I'm gonna use their Poreless Putty Primer. And this was like a big sensation, as we all know, but it's definitely lived up to the hype, I have to say. I like to focus this in my T-zone. And if I'm not using this product specifically, I'm definitely using the Tatcha because it's very similar. But of course, this is more affordable. They do have different formulas for this. They have the matte version, and I believe the other one is not mattifying. Sorry, we just said that. The other one is hydrating, I believe. I do not have either of the other ones. I just felt like this one worked really well for me, and I didn't see the need to go buy pretty much the same product. I mean, it kind of does something different, obviously, with the mattifying and the hydrating, but I just feel like the original formula is good enough for me, so I'm just gonna stick with that, especially because I do have product left, and I'm just trying to really use up what I already have. So now let's jump into complexion. So I'm gonna use the e.l.f. CC Cream. This is their newest launch for complexion product. They do have foundations that they offer. One thing I will say is that I don't personally find the foundations that they do have to be anything wowing. Honestly, I don't really like them. I do have their foundation in my collection, but it's something that I'm probably going to just throw out depending on expiration or giveaway or something like that, because it's just really not my favorite. But this CC cream that they came out with is definitely a different story. So I'm going to just pump 2 pumps on the back of my hand, and for reference, I am medium 330W. That's the shade that I purchased. I did buy this online, so I was really impressed with myself when I got it in the mail and realized that I did pretty good, if I do say so myself, on the color match. So this is pretty full coverage, you guys. Like, for a CC cream, you definitely get that coverage, but you also get like that natural finish, you know, at the end. It's not cakey, it's not heavy on the skin. It's just like the perfect product to use. So I've been really into like natural products and especially complexion products these days. I used to be all about full coverage, full glam. Now I still like it every now and then, but something that's a little bit more skin-like is more doable for these days, especially with everything that's going on. Sometimes you don't want to wear or feel like you're wearing a full face of makeup. So this product is definitely something that I highly enjoy. So using the brush with this specific product, it is requiring a little bit more work to blend it in, especially on the forehead area. So for that, I'm just going to take my sponge and just tap on top of it and just really help press this into the skin. And just make sure everything just kind of blended out real nice and easy. If you wanted a little less coverage, I would say go in with a sponge and a sponge only. The brush definitely gives you a little bit more coverage and a little bit more, you know, of a not full look, but like more like medium buildable coverage look. And so that's why I like to go in with the brush, but you can always go in with the sponge afterwards just to make sure everything's flawlessly blended in, because you know you don't want to be looking crazy. So I just like to do this. It might seem like a lot of work to some, but if you really love makeup, girl, you will do anything to get that flawless base. Now for concealer, I'm going to use the e.l.f. 16-Hour Wear Camo Concealer. This again is the original formula, which I feel pulls matte versus anything else. Now this does dry pretty quickly if you leave it too long to sit underneath your eyes or wherever you're applying your concealer. So this is definitely something you want to, you know, blend in pretty quickly. For me, I just like placing this, you know, in my normal areas, and then I will let it sit, but again, not for too long because it does dry pretty quickly, and then I'll blend it out. But this coverage on this concealer is amazing. I love it, and I just like using it. Now to blend it out, I am going to use my sponge yet again, and I would be using my e.l.f. sponge in today's video, but it's dirty, so we want to keep, you know, clean products and tools when we're doing our makeup. So that's why I'm not using it, but it's definitely one of my favorites. I really wish it was clean for today's video, but I did use it recently in a previous video, so if you want to see it in action, you definitely can check any of those videos out. But it is a great sponge. As far as concealer goes, I have tried the hydrating one that they do have, and honestly that one is not my favorite. I know people who love to mix this one with the hydrating one, and that doesn't seem like too bad of a concept either, but I guess it's just down to preference and what you like, you know. For me, this is just my go-to. It's definitely a concealer I pull out more often than not, and like I said, the coverage on this concealer is definitely one that I would say is high. So out of personal preference, I'm just taking my brush on top of the concealer just to make sure everything's blended in. And if I didn't say, the shade I'm using for the concealer is Tan Sand, and that's what, you know, I'm using. I feel like it's the perfect concealer for me. It gives a little bit of brightness without being too bright. You know, it's not too stark and harsh or anything like that, and it goes really, really well with my overall skin tone. So I really love that concealer a whole lot. So I did go ahead and do a light cream contour. As we all know, e.l.f. does not have any cream contour products just yet. So I went ahead and did that off camera, of course, and I did prime my lids. If you've seen my, I want to say my most recent video testing out new makeup, I did purchase their e.l.f. Putty Eye Primer, but I was not a fan. Although I love e.l.f. as a brand, that's just one product that I feel was amiss, in my opinion. So we are going to move on. Now, of course, I want to set the face, but I'm also going to set the lids as well using the same powder. This one is the Halo Glow Setting Powder, and I have mine in light. So I'm just going to press this all over my face as I always and normally would, you know, setting the T-zone, but also, again, setting the lids so we can prep and prepare them for eyeshadow. Let's go ahead and talk about the eyes. So for the eyeshadow, I feel like e.l.f.'s best eyeshadow palettes that they have yet to launch and come out with have to be their bite-size palettes. Really, their bite-size palettes, bite-size anything really. whether it's the blush and highlighter duos, which we will use a little bit later. But these, as far as eyeshadow goes, are the best palettes in my opinion. Super pigmented, really, really blendable, and just buttery. So we're gonna use these, but I also have these as well. These are just their shimmers, and I have two different shades. I have Copper and I also have Flirty Birdy. I don't know which one I'm gonna go with today. Maybe I'll use a mixture of both, but my vision for today's look is to use plenty of this for sure, and just some of the shadows. I don't want to do anything too heavy, something a little bit more lightweight and natural, but you know, I could get carried away, we don't know. So I'm gonna start, I think, with a little bit of this palette, Pumpkin Pie, and I'm gonna take this shade down here, and I think I'm gonna buff that in my crease to start. But I'm gonna use a light hand because, like I said, these shadows can get pretty pigmented, so I just want a brush of color, if you will. So next I want to grab a little bit of this brown right here, and this one is actually the Truffles palette. So I'm just gonna take that lightly as well and just do the same technique, the same thing, just to deepen it a little bit. I really don't want too much of it, just a little bit. It's kind of like contouring your eye, if you will. And just take it very lightly all the way down. Now taking a flat brush and this Pumpkin Pie palette, I'm going to use the lighter Copper shimmer in the palette. It really looks like this one's the lighter one, but truth be told, this one's actually a bit darker. And I'm going to use this one first, and I'm going to place this on the front part of my lid. Using the opposite side of this flat brush, I'm gonna go in with the darker one up here. Again, this is still the Pumpkin Pie palette, and I'm gonna take that on the middle to the outer corner of my lid. So my entire lid is shimmer. It's just starting with the more orange one. This one pulls a little bit more bronze, and I'm just gonna place it out here. So of course that's really pretty just like that. You guys can totally leave it that way, or you can go the extra mile, the extra step like I'm about to do. So first, before I even go in with the liquid shimmer, I'm gonna go back into the Pumpkin Pie palette, and I'm gonna take the same brown we used in our crease to begin with, and I'm gonna take that in the crease yet again just to redefine it a little more and just make sure there is a little differentiation from the lid to the crease. Just re-intensify that color. Now since we have our under eyes already set with powder, I'm gonna go ahead and drag that same shadow underneath on the lower lash line just to bring everything full circle. I'm just somebody who just really needs to always put shadow on the lower lash line. To me, it just makes the look a little bit more complete versus leaving it blank and bare. Sometimes I do, but it's very rare. I like a little shadow on my bottom lash line. So of course we went in with that shadow, so of course we got to take the brown from this palette that we used, and we have to smudge that underneath as well. I really like to use not always all the shadows that I use at the top, but at least 2 of the 3 to really create some dimension and again bring everything full circle. To me, this just looks a lot more complete, you know? It may not be everybody's thing, but it's definitely a thing for me. So now that we have that, let's use our shimmer shades, or liquid glitters if you will. So I'm gonna go in with Flirty Birdy first, since this is the lighter one of the 2. I'm gonna pop this in the front part of the lid. Now sometimes I can go in with this right away, but I don't want it to be that intense. I just want a little touch. So I'm gonna pop this on my hand first. Then I'm gonna grab a brush. For this, I think I'm gonna use this flat brush right here. I'm gonna tap into the product and just tap it on the front part of the lid. This adds like a little sparkle. I don't know if you guys can tell on camera, but for sure, looking in the mirror, I definitely see that sparkle, that glitter. It just looks really pretty. Now I'm gonna take a little bit of copper and do the same thing. I'm gonna put the product on the back of my hand first, then take that brush, tap it into the product. I'm gonna use the opposite side of the brush, of course. And then I'm gonna tap this out here in the center, in the outer part of the lid. We are glowing in more ways than one, you guys. Okay, so last but not least, for the eyes. I know it seems like I'm doing a lot, but I want to take the dark brown in the Truffle palette, so this one right here. I'm gonna use a flat definer brush like this one, and I'm going to create a wing, if you will. I don't know, I'm just gonna smoke a little bit of this dark brown on the outer corner right here, just to add a little something. I have been loving doing this with looks lately, even if I'm not wearing any shadow at all. It does something. If you guys can see the difference between this eye and this eye, it just gives it a little oomph without, you know, overpowering the look or making it super smoky. I don't know, it's what I've been loving to do, but you guys definitely can skip this. So now that our eyes are complete, I can go ahead and pop on some mascara. I'm going to use the e.l.f. Lash It Loud mascara. And before I put on any mascara at all though, I am going to curl my lashes really quickly. I am going to speed this part up just because, I mean, it's just putting on mascara. I'm pretty sure we all know how to do that. But before I do, this is the reality of like being a beauty guru and doing your makeup. Look at my hand, you guys. Product everywhere. I have foundation, I have cream contour, I have shimmer, I have eyeshadow. You know, it's just the reality of it. But really quickly, let's go ahead and execute that and get this done so we can move on and finish the rest of this makeup. But so far, I am loving this. To finish off the face, we're gonna start with bronzer. I'm gonna use their Forever Sunkissed bronzer right here. And I believe, what is this called? This is their Primer Infused bronzer. So this is the shade I'm gonna use. I might have to pop on a little bit of a secondary bronzer if it's not deep enough for me, but I'm gonna start off with this one, of course, and just start bronzing up my skin. This isn't a product I would say I use too often. Actually, more times not than yes, but it is still a nice bronzer. I think I could definitely get away with something a little bit more deeper, but it does provide that nice sun-kissed bronze that everyone loves, especially for the hotter and more warmer months. I think it's perfect for that. Or just something that's just a little bit more natural, you know, not too much color or anything like that, just enough to give a little dimension to the face. When it comes to blush, they have two options. Well, they have more than two options, actually. What am I talking about? But I have two options that I can use. I have these cream blushes, which I love. This is probably my favorite e.l.f. product thus far, aside from the CC cream. CC cream would have to be number 2, but this is definitely number 1. These blushes are like the key to my heart. I really do like these a lot, but I also love these mini palettes that they have. I forget the name of them. I want to say bite-size palettes. Yes, blush and highlight bite-size palettes. And I actually have 3 different ones of this one. But I think what I'm going to do for today's video is use the highlight out of one of these and use the cream blush for blush. So as far as a shade to use, I think what best suits this look, I think I could do pink and be okay, but I can also do orange. And we all know I love a nice orange blush. So I'm going to use Bahamas, and it looks like this. And I'm going to apply this to my cheekbones and temples, because you guys know I like to apply it there too. But I love the fact that this blush is just so pigmented and buildable, but you can also use it on top of powder. You can use it before powder. I've never used it before powder, but obviously if it works on top of powder, why wouldn't it, you know, be as beautiful underneath? But I am just so obsessed. The versatility of this blush is really like no other. It's very rare that you can find cream products that really work on top of, you know, set makeup, because we all know sometimes it just don't be working out, you know, it can ruin the makeup underneath. But this blush I've never had an issue with, and it just sits on top of the skin so nicely. Now for highlighter, I'm going to use this Spiced Apple palette, and I'm going to use the highlighter in this. And you know what, I'm going to pop a little bit of this blush on as well, because I feel like even though it's not as orange as the cream blush, it still complements it, and it'll help bring it out a lot more. As we know, blush is the first thing to rub off, so even if I go a little overboard, it'll be okay, because it will dissipate throughout the day. But it's just really beautiful, and it sits on top of that cream blush real nice as well. So now for the highlight part, I'm going to just take this on my highlighting brush and just go to town. But it's really pretty, very natural-like, or as natural can get. You know, it's not chunky, it's not glittery, it's just really, really smooth formula that, again, you can also build up just like the blushes and the eyeshadow and everything else that e.l.f. has to offer. As a final touch, I'm going to take White Peach, and I'm going to use the highlighter in this palette just to pop on my inner corners. That way we are using, you know, the most out of the products that I do own from e.l.f. And you guys can really see how great these products are. Alright beauties, so this is everything finished and complete. I really enjoyed today's video, as I always do, and the look came out beautifully. I hope you guys approve and love it just as much as I do. You know, e.l.f. is truly one of those brands that really come with the quality, but yet at an affordable price point. So I thought it was only fitting and right for me to do this video today, just to kind of showcase that. I feel like I've done the job. You know, their newest launches are just getting better and better, and I cannot wait to see what the future holds for them as a brand. I mean, I remember, you know, going to the store and picking up the blushes and the bronzers and, you know, eye brushes and things of that nature when I was, you know, just starting to get into makeup. e.l.f. was definitely one of those staple brands for me, and it still is to this day, because I know I can count on them for that quality. You really do not have to spend a big coin to, you know, achieve something like this, as you guys seen today. If you weren't a believer before, you definitely should be one now. But overall, I hope you guys enjoyed today's content. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Down below in the description box will be the products that I used in today's video. But with all of that being said, I love you guys so much, and I will catch you all in my next upload.